Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Bacon on the Rocks. My name's Chuck. I'm with Chris and Eric, and it is almost July. We are halfway, I hope, through 2020.
By the time they'll be listening to this, it will be July.
It will be July, I know. So if you're listening right now, it's July. So, you know, it's halfway through 2020. I hope everybody's getting through it okay. I know with Corona and all that other stuff going on out there, everything's going crazy at this point in time. But it's crazy to think that for the amount of time we've been kind of doing this, just how quick we've gotten to July already. And then, you know what? It's going to be August, and then it's going to be September. And then all craziness is even going to break loose again because kids are going back to school, and I can't wait for that day because I'm praying that it's going to go well.
It's insane how many times I think in my head that this year is halfway through now. And I still feel like when I start to think about things, it's like, it's the beginning of 2020. My mind just can't keep up with where we actually are because it's so different.
It's different, but does it also feel because it's just like it's kind of almost so repetitive too that it doesn't feel like we've gotten that, like we haven't gotten as far, or no? Or I feel at least that because my days are just like almost kind of repetitive. That just it's like we're doing the same thing again.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's like those mental check marks of the year that we've become accustomed to in our jobs lately that we're just not hitting because things are so different. Maybe that's what it is, but it's weird. Yeah.
And speaking of jobs, I'm excited. I just got the call back. I'm back Monday. Eric, I get to annoy you again. I'm so happy that that's going to be going on. But yeah, Eric's taking 3 months off. He forgot to tell everybody else. He's taking 3 off. He'll be gone.
Eric's going to start working from home.
I know, Chris. We gotta take care of that. We gotta get you back too. So yeah, at least like thank God it's gonna be an easy transition for me. My parents, I kind of already talked to them, and they're okay with the kids coming over. So kind of thankful for that because I didn't know how I was gonna do it otherwise to a degree because without them. So thanks, Nana and Pop. Appreciate you guys stepping up for that.
Shout out to Nana and
Pop. Kudos. Always. Yeah, but they don't know how to get onto a podcast to listen to it, so they won't even know that I said anything about them, so it's okay. Just like we said, what was it, the one where we were talking about our fathers? Yeah, for Father's Day. He didn't hear a thing on that. He doesn't know anything that was said. I said, I mentioned you on the podcast.
Or did he?
No, he didn't. No, because he's like, wait, how do I get onto that? And I'm like, I'm not even going to explain it. I showed you the one time. I even put it like a link on like his tablet so he could like easily get to it. No, it ain't happening. So
I think it's an elaborate ruse that he's just pulling on you. He knows he's listened to every episode. He knows exactly what we're saying.
Well, great. Hey, if he's listening, great. Hi, Pop. So, but the thing I want to take note on here is I don't know if you can see it. Chris said from his view it's a little tough to see, but did you see his shirt, Eric?
Well, I can, but for our audio listeners, why don't you explain it?
Yeah, so the shirt is an old NES controller. So
it says classically trained.
Does it? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, the video's a little. Oh no, what's Eric got there? Uh-oh. Man, you guys went all out. Wait, what's Chris? Oh, is that you?
You got the real one.
Did you guys talk to each other?
Mine's wireless because it goes to the Switch.
Oh, okay.
Throwback.
Okay, fine. But still, it's right there. It's there. So today's show is going to be all about video games of the past, the games we played when we were growing up, the games that we just remember and loved. And so I think we got to kick it all the way back. Let's see how it goes, I think. But we're going to start all the way back at the beginning. And I think, Chris, you should take it because I think you said you had a system that neither Eric or I played. So give us the first game that you ever played that you really remember when you were younger.
That would be...
Oh, wait.
The ColecoVision. Still in the box.
Oh, my God.
And it appears you still have it.
Yes. I have not fired it up to see if it actually works. Like when I was cleaning out my parents' house, I came across that and I was like, hey, I'm taking this. Technically, it was mine and my brother's, but,
But First come, first serve. You're
Exactly. The winner goes the spoils, So this was the first thing we had. We used to play Zaxxon. Zaxxon was one of my favorite games. It was like a flying game, sort of like a precursor to, I don't even know, like any sort of, like the Top Gun games on NES and things like that. And Q*bert, Smurfs. There was a Smurfs game, and what was Donkey Kong? How am I forgetting Donkey Kong? Donkey Kong actually came. This was like the edition that Donkey Kong came with. So
really,
hours
I didn't know
and
Donkey
hours
Kong
of
was
fun.
on that.
What's that?
I didn't know Donkey Kong was on there.
Oh yeah, look at right here. I don't know if you can see it, but
So
right here.
So
included
on the
with Donkey
box
Kong.
right now, Chris is showing. Yeah, included. And was that the only one?
It was included with it, yeah. And then you had to You had to buy the rest of them. I don't even remember really using this controller much. It almost looks like a telephone.
With a number pad.
Yeah, with the number
that
pad.
was my
I'm like,
question. So wait, how did you play that? Because I was going to say, I see the controller, and I swear I think like a friend or a cousin had it, and I went over to their house, and I could not figure it out. They had that kind of...
It's like a joystick type of situation, and then these two buttons on the side do like the actions, from what I remember.
Okay.
I don't know. I'd have to fire it. I'm kind of scared to try to fire it up. It was in the attic for like a long time. Yeah. But I mean, it's in the box, so it was probably protected.
It's in the box. Fire extinguisher by your side.
Yeah.
I think it'll be
I'm
fine.
more worried about burning up like the console than like burning up my house. I would say. Like so
yeah, forget the house as long as
one of these days I will pull it out and see if it actually works.
Do you actually have a TV that has the connection for the back though?
Oh yeah.
I was just about to go there. Yeah.
You can get adapters.
Now, what is that?
What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, is it like coaxial, or what did they have for an adapter in the background?
I don't remember.
No?
Okay. I'm gonna guess it's probably like a thing like that. Like with it might be the one, remember the one that had like the two little, like U-shaped? Yeah. There was sort of like hook things.
Yeah.
It might be that. I don't know. I can't remember. My dad used to just hook it up, and my brother and I would just play it. I bet you I never even set the thing up once myself. So.
Huh. Interesting. Okay, so with that, so you said you played Q*bert, you played Donkey Kong. What else? Any other games you really had, or
Zaxxon?
Yeah, because I would assume they were like cartridges, right?
Yeah, it was
Just
kind of.
like
They kind
Nintendo
of looked
do?
like Atari. If you ever had an Atari, they were like maybe. I think Atari were kind of thin and tall, like a little bit tall, and then these were a little short and fat. They almost look like an 8-track. Like if you ever remember what an 8-track looked like, they kind of look like that. If
you do not know anything that Chris is talking about at this point, please Google it after you're done listening to this.
I'm guessing our audience knows what those types of things are.
I believe so too. I do believe so. Eric, you know what an 8-track is or no?
I do know.
You're the youngest out of us.
I do.
Have
I actually ever used one? No, but I found them in the attic once.
I got an 8-track
I'm the same
player
there.
over there.
I know what they are, but I never used one. Never had to use one.
I went to school. I went to school with a guy. Shout out to Eric Gann. He had like this old Cadillac. He used to drive to school every day. It had an 8-track player in it. So we used to go to the pawn shops when we were in high school, and we would try to find 8-tracks for him.
Now, 8-track, is it that just like one song was on the whole entire thing? Or was it
I think you could put
whole
albums
album
on them.
Could you? Okay.
I don't know. I'm not an expert on 8-track.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's good. That's good. Okay. So you went there. So I'm going to keep it with you. Like, so you had that system. Did you upgrade in time and go to like, what was your next experience video game wise?
The next thing we got was actually the Atom, which was another system that Coleco put out. And it was like more of a computer. It was like almost sort of like a PC, but not. And it used basically like the tapes for it were kind of like almost like audio tape looking things where you would pop them in a little thing and put them in there. And then the game was like I'm drawing a blank on what the name of it was, but there was a cartoon when we were kids. It was like a knight and a dragon, something lair.
Dragon's Lair?
Dragon's Lair or something like that.
Is that what it was called? Dragon's Lair?
I think so.
I can't. I know what you're talking about. It's the one that's like the FMV, like full motion video that
Yeah.
you tell it where to go.
Yeah. So
I think it was Dragon's Lair. I don't know. Maybe not.
we got that for Christmas one year. I want to say that the main character's name was Dirk, if I'm not entirely
and
mistaken.
I think you're right. Yeah.
He had like the helmet that kind of like had the piece that went down here, and he wore like the chainmail.
Yep.
It was like red
And it was orange or something
red.
like
Yeah,
that.
it was like one of those colors.
Yep. No, I don't. I knew of the character. I knew of that, but I never played that game or anything. I've never heard of Adam. Adam, you said it was?
Yeah, the Coleco Adam.
Yeah. I'd never heard of that in my life. That's the first time I've ever heard that.
It was awesome from what I remember. I mean, I'm sure if I played it now, it'd be like, what is this nonsense? But like when I was a kid, it was like a choose your own adventure type of thing, I think, too, where you had like you'd reach like a cliffhanger type of thing, and like, oh, does Dirk do this or does he do this? And so you could pick like 3 different options on what you could do. And like sometimes you would like die, obviously, and then sometimes you'd make the right decision and you'd move on.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say sometimes it was like reactionary, like you're going through an action sequence and you got to press right or something before a certain time or else you die.
Yep.
Did you ever hear of Adam before? Like that system, Eric? Or
I have heard the name, yes.
Okay.
Not at that time, not at like I am familiar that it exists.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, no, I learned something. I like that. Learned something new. I didn't know about that one. So, okay. So are we close to NES? Because that's the only time I can jump in. Or we got another one, Chris?
Well, I'm going to say that
or
NES
Eric, you got
was
one?
the first time that I really paid attention, or the first thing I ever played with NES. But then after NES, I went back and then had an Atari 2600 that came into my possession. When I was younger, we had a camp, and that's where all the old stuff went. So there was an Atari 2600 there with games that were got from flea markets and garage sales and just the beeps and boops and tiny little graphic, like just big blocks. Just that's all it was. It was
8-bit glory.
It was awesome. All those great arcade games made really crappily, like Pac-Man and Donkey Kong.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, no one has said this yet. Has anybody with the systems they had, especially Chris with yours, was Pong ever a part of your life?
Yeah, that was Atari, I think, was on. My cousins had the Atari, and so when we would go over to their house, we would play, and Pong was one of the ones. You might have been able to get it for one of these things, I'm not sure, but I never actually owned it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting that, but
I definitely had a Pong and a type of Breakout, which is that one, the Brick Breaker game where you're basically one Pong paddle. Definitely had those for Atari.
see,
Yeah.
I was going to say my earliest that I remember any type of, and I don't remember what the game is at all. I just remember that I would take like an old floppy disk, which was like, you guys will know what I'm talking about. It's like the plastic one that you could actually it was floppy. You could actually bend it, even though you shouldn't, but you could as a kid. That you would actually put into like a computer or a computer drive, because it was a Commodore 64. Let me preface it with that. So that's the closest thing I ever had to like a computer gaming system. And then you had to like type in DOS and commands and all that to actually load the game on to the computer for it to play. And again, for the life of me, I don't remember whatever the game was, but I just remember that whole process of wanting to play like some game, and I had to go through all these steps. So you would have to like power it down. If you wanted to do a new one, you had to power it down, take out the floppy disk, change it with another one, put that in, start the Commodore back up. It was a process, which to a degree, it's not different from like taking a disc out of your like Xbox One and putting a new disc in, but this was a much longer and involved process and putting in commands and codes to get yourself to the game. So, and I don't remember any of the codes to get there, but yeah, that's like my earliest game recollection ever until the NES came out. And then that was like my first real game system that I ever got. Which technically I got on my birthday, but it was a family gift is what I was told when I got it.
I remember those gifts.
So, On your birthday, though?
Yeah. No, not usually. No.
Yeah. Unless I'm wrong. I mean, unless I'm dreaming, but I'm pretty sure it was my birthday I got it because I was the one asking for it the whole time. So, I mean, sticking with the NES, everybody obviously got Mario, the first Mario, because that's what always came with any NES system was Mario. Mine, though, came with the orange gun.
Okay, so I was
Because there
about to
must
ask,
have been
did yours
something
come with
about-
Duck Hunt? They didn't always come with Duck Hunt. That
Yes.
was a 2-pack that was released later on
Yep.
where it was Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. And then later it
Yep.
was Mario Brothers,
No,
Duck
I got
Hunt, and
that.
something else.
And I didn't know if there was a problem or something because I remember the original gun, it was like gray, a darker gray with a lighter gray.
That's
And
the one
I
I
don't know
had.
see, okay, and I got the one, it was basically the barrel and the handle were orange and then the center part was gray. So I don't know if kids were running around with them and people were mistaking them for things, you know, how that goes
I don't
every
really
time.
think it got that extreme. I think it was just generally to distance it more from the look of a real gun, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but let me tell you, Duck Hunt, fantastic game.
Yes.
I love Duck Hunt so much.
You
I
were-
liked it
You were
almost
totally
more
the
than Mario.
person that was sitting on top of the screen shooting, though, weren't you?
Sometimes. I will say I did sometimes, not all the time, but I did sometimes. But that's when you were really like just messing around. But I did try and take it kind of seriously a little bit and do my best. But I had an older sister, and you know, her being older, she was just better than me at hitting the ducks than I was. So sometimes I'd get mad and run right up to the screen and be like, and you know what? Sometimes she still missed, even when it was right on the screen. It just like didn't register. Someone's like, nope, and he flew away. And that stupid dog. How many times did I try and shoot him and he never went down once? So,
Oh, that dog.
so yeah, like I said, so Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, you know, that was always kind of something that was a given in there. But the next game that I ever remember from NES was Excite Bike.
Mm-hmm.
That one was amazing. And just such a fun game. And I especially loved it when you could make your own course.
Yeah.
And you could sit there and try and ride it, and then it was just horrible when you did do it.
Yeah.
You would put like jump after jump after jump. You didn't give yourself space to get anywhere. So you're like, and then when you would crash, you'd go like far across the lanes, and you had to like slowly run through, looks like trudging through a ton of mud just to get back on your bike. And so much fun. I love Excite Bike.
Yeah, that was a great game.
That was one-
I loved playing that.
I didn't play that one until much later, like when I went back on a nostalgia trip and then went down and played everything that I hadn't played. But it is obviously very well known and well played.
So what about you guys? What was your most favorite NES game that you can think of?
For me, going back to Mario Brothers, by the time I really got into Nintendo, the Super Mario Brothers 3 was already out.
Oh, yep. That's up there
and
for me too.
Unfortunately, I didn't watch The Wizard when I was younger, which was basically everyone's first look at it back before there was internet and magazines to like look at all the stuff that was coming out. Your first sneak peek was through this movie, and people literally went to the movie to get their sneak peek of Super Mario Brothers 3. But that's the one I remember putting the most time into probably when I was younger. It's that or Bubble Bobble.
Oh, that is my wife's absolute favorite. We even bought it for the Wii. And she doesn't get enough of that.
There's a new one actually that just came out for Switch.
I'm glad my wife doesn't listen to this podcast too often.
She'll listen to this.
Eric,
one.
and Eric, that means you don't go on. No. That means you don't go on Facebook after and say, "Hey, Donna, guess what?" No, you're supposed to back me up.
Only if you start the conversation with a false accusation,
Eric,
and then I'll throw you
no,
under the bus.
you're just supposed to be supportive of me, not of her.
No, I haven't. So I haven't played that yet, but I keep on talking with a few friends that we need to get together and buy that one and play it. But yeah, Bub and Bob, the two little green and blue dinosaurs or whatever they were, and shooting bubbles. That was the theme song for that game is on a constant loop, and it played in my head through from my whole childhood, basically.
Yep, that was her absolute favorite. Now, the thing I didn't get is, because I never played it till I met her, never played Bubble Bobble or anything like that. but the bubbles, they got red. Right?
They
Is
would-
that because they're gonna pop,
They
or
would
I don't
basically
understand?
deteriorate over time. They would
Oh,
get
okay,
red,
okay.
and they would start to flash and flicker, and then eventually pop.
But then you could like build a bunch of them and then like jump on it, and then it went, went like
Yep, you
crazy
can build
down
a
the
bunch
whole.
and go zoo, zoo, zoo. Yep, that's true, Chuck.
Zoo, zoo, zoo. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you could,
Okay,
you could
so-
use the bubbles to traverse. You could jump across stuff and
Okay.
was- it was a platforming and a little bit of puzzle. Yeah. See, it was very arcade like because it was one screen at a time. You would complete that by beating all the enemies, and then go to the next one.
Okay. Yeah, no, I couldn't get down with it. Plus, she got very irritated with me when I tried to play the second player, and I guess I wasn't very helpful. So I stopped playing. She's like, build some bubbles, make it do that. And I'm like, I don't know how to build bubbles. What do you mean? It's like, just no, it didn't go well at all. And she's very intense about it. So maybe Eric, if you want to reach out to her and you guys can play, I think you guys might be a great team together on that one.
You
'cause
just told him not to,
that-
though.
No, I said I don't want to hear about the new one. I don't want him telling her about the new one. They can play the old one that we have, and that's okay.
Somewhere
tell
on the
about the
internet
new one.
exists a video of my friend Nick and I actually completing that game. Nick, who you
Oh, really?
both know. Yeah. The true ending, too, because you need two people and you need to, like, get to a secret door, all that crazy stuff. That's how a lot of NES games ended back in the day. It's like, oh, you didn't get the true ending. You got to play through a second time. Basically, to, like, say, oh, you keep playing.
Jeez, darn NES. So what about you, Chris? What's your absolute favorite NES that you can remember?
I mean, it's tough to pick a favorite, but I mean, I happen to have a couple titles here that I rather enjoyed playing. This would be
prep work.
This would be Metroid, the original, was one of my favorites, and this one actually is still in the little sleeve, not the original case, but this is Contra.
Oh, okay.
So
And
everyone's
you still-
familiar.
I mean, I'm assuming you still have the Contra code memorized.
Yes, up, down, left, right, BA, select, start.
Ooh, select
what it
start.
is?
So you did it 2-player.
I usually play when I played it. I usually played 2-player. Yeah,
Select would basically just change it to the next option. So select start would be 2-player.
yeah. I found that Contra wasn't as much fun with one person. When you're playing it with another person, it's like way more fun, especially when you have like the unlimited lives, basically.
That was another one I didn't actually play when I was younger. It was, again, down the nostalgia with friends and got introduced to it that way.
Yes. I also shout out to Mike Tyson's Punch Out. That was another one of my favorites growing up.
That was a great one. Absolutely.
And interesting story. That was one of the first. I can't remember whether we got that with, like we got the NES for Christmas one year, and I can't remember whether my parents went out and bought the game as like a separate present, or if we got it like a little bit later down the road. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure we got it with the initial, like when we first got the NES, and so. My brother and I opened the thing up on Christmas morning, and it was one of the first. I'm not sure if it was the first game we played, but Christmas morning we're sitting here trying to play, and then my dad just says, "Oh, why don't you give me a shot at this?" So we're like laughing all about it. We're like, "Yeah, Dad's never gonna be able to do this or whatever." So my dad takes the controller and just starts wrecking everybody in this, like wrecking all the guys. And we're just like, Dad, what is going on? We had no idea. Like, my dad was amazing at this game. And we didn't find out until years later that, like, they bought the thing, like, a month before Christmas or whatever. And and my dad had been playing it the entire time, like, getting awesome at Punch-Out. Like, he was, like, the first person I knew that actually beat Mike Tyson without using
awesome.
any of the cheat codes or anything like that.
That's hilarious. My father,
yeah.
Awesome.
he'd be like, "What's this contraption? What do I got to do with it? I don't want to even know."
I think my dad was more excited to get it than my brother and I were, or just as excited, probably. My dad loved gadgets and things like that.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, but like we would tell our friends about it. We'd be like, "Oh my god, you got to see my dad play Punch Out. It's amazing." And then years later, we found out that like he just got the more practice than we did.
That's awesome. That's hilarious. I could get my father only to really play sports titles. So bases loaded when it came to the NES. That was a go-to.
See, and again, like I said, with my dad, I asked him. He probably tried once or twice, but just the simple, like, what's on your shirt, Chris? The classic Nintendo controller. That was too many buttons for him to already want to play and understand, and it was over. It was over before it even started. Like, after one round, he died within maybe a minute and a half of playing, and he's just like, okay, I'm done. Bye. Got to go do something else. So, yeah, didn't get into too many games with him. But when you guys played, okay, so Chris, you probably played with your brother quite a bit. Who are you? Do you feel you're a gamer? Like, do you feel you actually or was your brother better than you, or were you better than him? Because I know, like, just for me, my brother and I would play. I could kick his butt in any physical sport that was out in the real life, but when we sat down and played a video game, he would kick my butt, and I hated playing video games with him every time. Every time. And it even grows. This is how bad I am. My 11-year-old still beats me in every freaking game on his stupid Xbox One S, whatever piece of crap that is. I'm biased. I'm a PlayStation guy. Always have been, always will be, but he wanted an Xbox. Anyways, moving on. So yeah, I suck. What about you guys overall?
I mean, I've always enjoyed playing video games. I don't necessarily consider myself like a gamer because I feel like the people who are gamers are like really, really skilled and really good. And I have always done it just to like have fun, you know? To answer your question about my brother and I, I guess it depends on the game, and, you know, certain games he was really good at, and then certain games I was really good at. And then there was like the other games where we had like a bit of a rivalry, like most of the sports games, like Tech Mobile, basically Tech Mobile. Anybody who had Bo Jackson would just win whenever.
I was trying to insert a Bo Jackson comment in there somewhere, but
I mean, that was like it was the most unfair thing. Like having Bo Jackson was like ridiculously powerful in those games, so it was always like who was going to be the Raiders, you know, and whoever was the Raiders usually won.
Yeah.
So there had to be some sort of competition to see who was going to get to use the Raiders before we played. Where like, I don't know, we'd shoot horse in the backyard or something like that, and, you know, figure out who was going to be the Raiders. And neither of us
couldn't
were
just
Raiders
make the Raiders
fans.
off limit.
We did sometimes. We did, yeah.
That's crazy. Now, wasn't there also a basketball game where if you went to the top of the screen and shot like a 3-pointer, like if you had the ball, you always score it, like it just went in every time, and that was like a cheat on that game?
Double dribble?
I'm pretty sure,
I
think
double dribble also.
I think it was double dribble, yeah. Because I remember I saw it on a TV show where it's just like, oh, we're going for 3. Yeah, I think it was Family Guy. That they showed that there was the cheat right there. You just sat there and would keep going there, and as long as you were at that spot, you would always sink the 3 every time. So
yeah.
So those are always fun to find in those games.
Right, and they put those there, I think, specifically for people to find. You know, like little things like that in all those games.
Yeah. Yep.
With
the NS,
a lot of times stuff like that is also put in there just for play testing, and just gets overlooked, not removed for whatever reason, and gets exploited when people find it. Like, I'm sure there might have been that one spot. It's like, oh, we know we'll hit it here, so whenever we need to make it for testing, we'll go there and shoot. But then it just gets left in the game. So that
but it makes it fun. Yep, makes it fun
or not fun, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, but you know, I don't know, because honestly, a lot of times that's how my brother got me. So, was it so? One of my other favorite games, because you were saying, Chris, Jackal. I don't know if you guys ever played that one. It was like a military game, and you were basically driving a Jeep, And it's almost like, you know, that airplane game where they just keep like firing at you the whole entire time. It was the same idea, but you're driving a Jeep instead. So as you drive along, you get bigger guns and missiles on it, and then you're like fighting, you know, bigger enemies and things like that. Loved playing Jackal, and my other favorite was all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games.
Ooh.
1, 2. I mean, at least those were the two that I had. So, but any of them,
One
loved
was
them.
way too difficult for me when I was younger. I think I rented that
It
game a
was
few
tough.
times, and I just could not get through the seaweed.
It was
tough.
tough. Yep.
Yeah.
That was absolutely was tough. I mean, 2, I loved it a lot more than 1 because especially the graphics
Yeah, I mean,
for what they were so much better.
It was the arcade game redone for the Nintendo, which was, I mean, the graphics were nowhere near as good as the arcade version, but it was,
Yeah.
it was definitely
Better
much
than
better.
1.
The arcade was
But-
amazing. That game was amazing in the arcade.
Yes.
I actually beat it in the arcade once with my friend Mike Murphy.
Really?
And, yeah, we stayed in the arcade for like 3 hours, and I think I spent whatever allowance I had for
I was just
Yeah,
gonna
I
say
just
how
kept-
many quarters.
just kept
I was gonna
shoveling quarters in. And like we were supposed to, I think we went to the movies, and then my mom said we could go to the arcade for a little while after the movie or whatever. And it was in Sangertown. You remember the arcade
Had
used
to-
to be right. Yeah, it used to be
right
right, by
next to the movie theater.
Right
Yeah.
next to Hoyt's. Yep.
Yep.
So we were supposed to meet my mom. I don't remember what time exactly, but we were like 2 hours late or something like that. And then we come out.
Oh my gosh.
We came out of the mall and we had just beaten the turtle, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we were so happy about it. But then my mom like brought me back down to earth and was like, I got a stern talking to, we'll say. But I'd say it was worth it.
I was gonna say the trade off was worth it.
Yeah. The juice was worth the squeeze.
Oh, my mother would have been livid. 2 hours. Oh my gosh. She was mad if I was like coming out of swim practice and I was like 15 minutes coming out. Swim practice ended at 6:00. I came out at 6:15. She would be upset. Like, why are you taking so long to get out? So, God bless your mother. She has more patience than mine did. Mine
Yeah,
would have
I mean,
been within.
I don't know if it was 2 hours like specifically, but like I don't know. It was a long time that
Yeah.
we were overdue. But
Hey,
we
if
beat
it was
the
over
game.
15 minutes, we beat the game.
That was my defense the whole time when I was getting yelled at. I was like, "Mom, we beat the game. What'd you want me to do? Just let die?
And walk away.
Just walk away? I had to continue in a quarter. What did you want me to do?"
We got to take down Shredder.
Oh my God, I can totally see that. It's just like, Ma,
Priorities.
absolutely.
You know?
That's great. That's great.
Ma,
Oh my
you
gosh.
raised me not to be a quitter.
Gotta be a winner, Ma.
matter
Gotta be
how
a
many
winner.
quarters
Go for
it
the
takes.
W.
Yeah.
Eric, any other favorite NES games? I know you kind of mentioned 1 or 2, but
They're escaping me right now. I know I played Chip and Dale a bit when I was younger. There goes the camera. And other than Chip and Dale, oh God, I feel terrible because I know I'm missing something important.
I'm trying to
Zelda? Anybody play Zelda?
So that's another one I went back and revisited.
My
I was
friends had it
never-
and just
I was never we had it, but I was never all that into it. But when I was growing up and we were like in grade school, my house was kind of centrally located to like where the school was. So a lot of the kids would have to pass by my house to go to school. So before school, we would meet at my house and play Zelda before we went to school. And I don't know, that was like the game they all wanted to play. So I ended up playing it, but like I was never all that into it.
never got into it either.
It was definitely too advanced for me when I was younger. When I did go back and play the original Zelda, I played with a guide not too far from my side, just in case I got stuck.
That was the thing about that game was like it was easy to get stuck. and it wasn't like you could hop on YouTube and see a tutorial or something like that at the time.
Not in the 80s
you
and
know.
90s.
Mm-hmm.
You had to like you're saying, you had to special order like some Zelda guide or from some catalog that you saw, or if you're lucky enough to wherever you bought the game, or if they had the guide there or something like that. There wasn't any like Amazon or something like that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just know with Zelda, the only thing I thought that was cool about Zelda was that it came in a golden case as compared to the gray cases. That was like the only cool thing with Zelda. Other than that, I didn't get the game, didn't understand it, didn't have the patience, and so thank God I never bought it. My friend had it and wanted me to try it, and I gave him the controller. I was like, I'm good, tapping out. So, yeah, definitely not something I was into. You got a thought, Eric? You got like one that you can't. We can come back to it. It's okay if you think about it later.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good NES games.
There's almost too many to mention.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, when we get into the next generation is actually when I'll have too many to mention.
Super Nintendo?
Super Nintendo was my jam.
Let's jump into it then. You start us
Do we
off.
want to that or Game Boy? Do we go to Game Boy? Which one do you
Game
think?
Boy? Who had
Is
one
it
of
gonna go
those?
Game Boy and my dear Lord, it's right there. Oh,
What?
because what came first, Super Nintendo or Game? I don't even know what came first.
Oh, Game Boy
gosh.
definitely came before Super Nintendo. Game Boy kind of blew my mind when it came out. It was like you had to be tied to a TV normally, and then all of a sudden, like I remember being in the back of my parents' car driving wherever, long road trips. I'd be sitting there plugging away on this thing, and it made the time go by.
Yeah. I never had a game. My friend, he had a Game Boy. Never had a Game Boy, so I never got to indulge in that.
So Game Boy and Super Nintendo came out probably not too far. There was a lot of overlap. I want to say
what I was
Game Boy
kinda
came out in '89, and I know Super Nintendo came out in '90.
Maybe I'm just thinking of when I got my Game Boy and when I got my Super
Versus
Nintendo.
when you got your.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, Mario was a big one on there for me.
On Game Boy?
Yeah. Oh, so actually that's another one. So Game Boy pack-in came with Tetris to help sell and move that, and that was to appeal to everyone. I don't really remember playing it that much on my Game Boy, but I played that a lot on regular Nintendo also. There's a few puzzle games. There, Super Mario Land. You ever play the second one too, though?
I don't think I'd ever played the second one, no.
Legend of the Six Golden Coins. That was probably the one I put the most hours into on my game. It was either that or later on in the Game Boy's life, Pokemon.
Oh, dear Lord.
I never got into Pokemon.
I did buy Red. I did play that a lot. And that was one of those games where I was really into it and really looking forward to the sequel. Can't wait for, I don't remember what they were called, Gold and Silver to come out. Reading all the reviews online about the Japanese version and this and that in it. And I was so excited. And then by the time it actually hit America, I was out of it. Didn't care anymore. I was done. I think I may have downloaded some ROMs that were some loose translations of it and played a very little bit of it, but never actually played the games.
The only Game Boy for us was my brother got it because I got in the NES. My mom got it for me, and I think it was it the color Game Boy? Was that like the thing? Like first you had Game Boy, and then they had like a color screen version or something like that.
Yes, which could
And
play
so-
all the originals, but then had games that were specifically made for it that would take advantage of the
Yeah.
color palette.
But
Yep,
Chuck, your NES was a family gift, though. You didn't get that.
I know I didn't get. Yeah, we all love. We all share in my house.
So did you get to play with the Game Boy?
No, it was his. I had no interest because and that's what made me remember he even had it, Eric, because when you said the Pokemon stuff, I'm pretty sure he had a game or two that was Pokemon, and that's the only way I remember. Honestly, I totally forgot about it till you just said that right there. But no, I think maybe for 5 minutes I picked it up and tried it, and I'm like, this is stupid, and then just forget it, because by that time I had a different system, but I want to make sure we stay with this, so I want to go to Super NES here out of this. I don't want to go to the other system I had. We'll touch on that one next. I'm trying to keep it organized here.
We'll stick with the Nintendo family first.
Yeah, we'll keep going there. So, Eric, you got something to name. Let's go with Super Nintendo here.
Super Nintendo. So, oh my God, F-Zero racing game. That one was many hours drained into that. Super Mario World, obviously, keeping with the Mario theme, and then Yoshi's Island. Just someone else. I'll just talk about someone else's stuff. Go.
I got nothing for this one, so both of you have at it. I never had this system. Chris, go ahead and hold the system up first. I know you're reaching for it or something.
My system's actually upstairs because my daughter plays it now. So that one I could not bring downstairs because it's in use right now.
Wrestle that one away from her.
Yeah, I mean, she's not using it right at the second, but I just didn't feel like unhooking it and bringing it down. So that one she plays, what is it, Super Mario World, yeah. And I played that quite a bit. But like a lesser known one that I have here is Lethal Enforcers, which is actually a gun, like it has a gun, which the gun's back. Or no, actually the gun's upstairs in the bin with the Super Nintendo.
Was that
okay.
So, but
Super Scope gun? Or was
no, it was just like a revolver type of deal.
Okay.
It was specific to this game, or at least, I mean, I'm sure it works with other games, but it came bundled with it. It was like a little like a police officer type of revolver looking thing. Okay. It's blue though, like a light blue color. So again, I don't think anyone's gonna confuse it with an actual gun. But the problem with that is I do have one TV where I can play that game on, but you need the old CRTV TVs to play the game, like Duck Hunt also, and
like
Lethal Enforcer. Yeah. And then I played a lot of sports games on the Super Nintendo, like NHL 95 was the one I had, and NBA 95. And I got into all the Star Wars games on that too, like Super Star Wars and Super Empire Strikes Back and all those. And I think those were the ones that were notoriously hard, or was it the NES version?
I don't really remember much about the NES version, but I know the Super games were pretty difficult at times, especially after like the first level.
Yeah, they were super frustrating. It was one thing I remember about those games. Like, I wanted to love them so much, but I just remember hating them, like, because they were so hard. I'd like to. I don't know what happened to those. I don't have them anymore, so I wish I could go back and play them now. But maybe I'll go out and buy them again or something.
I can't really remember if I went back and tried those or not. What about Donkey Kong Country? Did you ever play any of those?
Yeah, I played those like for like the life of the game or whatever, but like I was never super enamored with them, I guess.
When I first got it, it was amazing to me how 3D-ish they looked for not even really being 3D. Like that graphic style when that first came out, that was
that was what that was noted for, right? Was like it was like it used basically all the capabilities of the system.
Yeah.
At the time, anyway.
Never played it, but I saw it. It was like I was amazed by it when I saw the graphics on it. I thought it was one of the best games I'd seen since ever. They had that kind of graphics because I really thought it was like 3D at first, but
I put many hours into the second one, and there was so many different secrets and hidden stuff in that game that you could play it for hours.
Yeah.
So Eric, give us some more of the games. I mean, you had a list, and you kind of calm down. You're like, I said something. But go for it.
I mean,
Let's hear it.
All right.
Go, do it.
Just ones I revisited after. I didn't really play them when I was younger, but afterwards they've become my favorite games. This is when I actually played I played A Link to the Past, Zelda. That game, still hands down my favorite Zelda game. Super Metroid, bouncing off of what Chris said earlier from Metroid. I never really played the NES Metroid that much. Super Metroid is probably, honestly, my favorite game of all time. As I'm wearing a Metroid shirt. There, just the atmosphere of that game when you first load it up, that deep dark alien, like, that's another thing about a lot of these games. It's like they were so inspired by the pulp culture around it that they pull stuff from that, but are their own unique things and have expanded on it since. But like, when that first came out, there was a lot of heavy inspiration from Alien and things of that nature.
Yep.
When Star Fox first came out, that was basically, how can we make Star Wars into this game?
Yeah.
Star Fox is another one I didn't really play back then. I played Star Fox 64. We'll get into that later. But I never really played Star Fox until much later. Shoot, what else is there? We go back to Turtles. Turtles in Time for that game, for that system.
Oh, really? Oh, I never heard of that one.
Oh, it's
Turtles in Time. Turtles in Time was a great game.
Turtles in Time was really good.
Till summer, I got to borrow the system for a little bit.
That was definitely
reliever of it.
That was one I rented many times. I wonder how many games there are that I spent more money renting it than it would have cost to buy it.
Yeah, remember that was like a big thing when you can still do it now. I got Redbox. You can rent some games and stuff like that. And there's I think there's some subscription Netflix type things that'll send you discs and whatnot. But
I don't know if those exist anymore.
Yeah,
Gamefly?
probably not. GameFly, yeah. But I remember walking into like the video store and just like they would have the VHS box and then the tape was behind it. They had like the video game section where you'd go in and rent whatever, and then it was a great way to try something before you actually bought it too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I remember instead of doing that though, I would go and I would exchange games, and like there was a store in the New Hartford Shopping Center where Nicky Doodles and the Dollar General is now, that part, and you could go in. It was a movie rental place, but it also had a video game section where you could like go exchange one of your games. They give you X amount of dollars for it, and then just like GameStop.
Yeah.
How you can kind of do something like that. So it's like that, but it was like also a movie rental place.
Yeah, I know what place you're talking about.
I forgot what it's called.
I forgot the name of it too. Yeah. I bought a few games. Oh, that's where I got Aladdin and the Lion King games. Those are fun too.
For NES, Super
Nintendo.
Okay, because my next one is Sega, and I have Aladdin for Sega. So when you said Aladdin, I was like, oh yeah. So
which are interesting because there was a lot of those games back then where a game was made for each Sega and Nintendo, yet they were completely different games. Mm-hmm. They might have had some things were similar and some things that were completely different. Like Ninja Turtles for Sega was the Hyperstone Heist, which was very similar but very different at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, God, I got nothing to add for Super NES. I did not. My friend got it, and he didn't want to play video games. He wanted to play outside. So we didn't really ever. I never played Super NES. I was Nintendo all the way through till I got a Sega. I bought that off a friend because he didn't want it. So.
So that's how you felt to Sega.
What's that?
So that's how you fell to the clutches of Sega.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I wanted one, but my mom wasn't buying a new one, and she's like, the Nintendo works. There's no reason for me to get you a new one. So if you want it, you go spend your own money and go buy it wherever you want to find it. So I saved up and bought it from my friend Chris. because whatever it was is, you know how like the new systems come out. I don't know what came after Sega. I don't know what the next step up was after, but he was looking for that. So for $25, I got the old original like 64-bit Sega. I think that was what they were pushing. That it was like 64-bit. I think.
So
No?
Sega Genesis?
Yes.
That was
yes.
16-bit, same as Super Nintendo.
16. I knew there was a 6 in there. 16-bit. Sorry. Yeah. So that's. And it's over there. I didn't grab my stuff down. All my game system and all that. I'm so mad because you guys are like, oh, here's this one. I got it sitting right over there. I can see it from here. But yeah. So that I went in with Sega, and that's when I first started like exchanging games. I kept all my Nintendo stuff, which it's over there too in a box. So yeah. But Aladdin, I had that game. I had Star Trek. Never got far in that game. I just could always get through the first 3 rounds or whatever, and then after that I kept dying, and so I quit. But the biggest one, and again, I go back to this because my brother, like this was the system we mainly played a lot together. The best 2 games we played were Street Fighter, and the other one was Mario Lemieux Hockey, and annoyed the heck out of me.
Hockey.
Mario Lemieux Hockey, yeah.
I don't even know if I'm
hated
familiar
it.
with that.
Oh, I'll show you the game sometime. I'll see if I can find that. But the biggest annoyance was he would cherry pick every freaking time, and you couldn't. He would just stand there at the other end. He'd get the puck, shoot it all the way down there. All my guys are at one end, and he'd just be right there by the goalie, and all you had to do was, press A, B, whatever, and shoot it, and then there you go. It was done. So he beat me every time in that game and I said no more cherry picking. He would just do it. He'd just be down there and cherry pick. And then Street Fighter could not beat him. I even went and bought like the special controller where instead of just the 3 buttons, you have the 6 buttons. So you got like, so instead of just punching kind of like, like that, it goes, like, it really punches fast. Still couldn't beat him. Still could not beat him. I'm like, I hate it. I hate video games with my brother. I refuse. Like he asked me to play, and begrudgingly, I will do it just to be a good sport, but I know what's going to happen, and I just don't want to deal with it. And hence, to finish that off, my son does the same exact thing as his uncle, my brother, and like he'll sit there and play the freaking NHL, whatever. He has 2020 or 2019 now. And what does he do? He skates around me and like teases me with the puck. Oh, here's the puck, Dad. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. And the little brat kicks my butt in freaking NHL 2020. Now, granted, I don't play it that much. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, sure, I'll be a good dad and play a game with you. Not with him anymore. The way he acts, he's like, it's like, I think I'm doing great. I'm up by like 2 goals. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to beat his butt. Yeah, see, I caught myself. I'm like, I don't care. For this one, I'll beat it. I'm going to beat his ass. I got him. Then there's like a minute left on the clock. He's like, oh, watch this. Boop. And the score, I'm like, son of a. And then I'm like, I still am up by 1. I'm up by 1. And there's maybe 15 seconds on the clock. He's wasting time. He's skating around. And he just goes, hey, watch this. Boop. And ties it and then gets like the game winner in overtime because he wants to go to overtime with me.
He's just
I can't
teasing
stand.
you.
My son is a brat.
Putting you at the end of a
when
stick.
it comes to the Xbox, he is a brat.
I think
That's
your
hilarious.
brother probably got a hold of him and taught him how to do it all.
They probably practice all day online, and I don't even know it. That's probably what's going on. It's all conspiracy against Chuck. There it is
Hey,
again.
if
See?
you need someone to come over and play him in NHL and put him in his place, let me know.
Yeah, whenever you're ready. Whenever
Those
you're
are
ready.
definitely those games.
You know what?
I had
when I start
NHL
working
93.
Monday, and you take your vacation time.
There you go. I had
Sorry,
NHL
go ahead. What was that?
93. I had NHL
Yep.
93 for Super Nintendo also, which was like NHL PA 93. It wasn't even the NHL rights. It was just the player rights. So it was just New York, not the New York Rangers. Then I don't think I had any other ones in between that until NHL 97, which is a great one with John Van Beesbroek on the cover. That's probably the best NHL game of all time. But yeah, if modern day NHL 20, you need me to come over, just let me know.
Yeah, anytime. It's, once this COVID situation's under control, no problem, anytime. So,
I played a lot of NHL 97 on Genesis also at a friend's house.
okay. That's where I was going to go to. Like any other, I mean, of course there's Sonic, but what other games really kind of stood out if you guys played, did you both play Sega or?
I never owned it personally, but I remember my father rented it for us for a weekend one time.
renting
you could rent like
game consoles. I remember that was a thing, and there was no
Yeah.
way that was ever happening for me.
Nope.
I
I'm right
don't
there with
remember
you.
what it was expensive like for the time. Like I don't remember exactly what it cost, but it was when Genesis had come out recently, and I think was that bundled with the Altered Beast? Is that like one of the games that like it came with, or was that when they launched it? That was like one of the top games or something.
I think it was just one of their highly
Yeah,
touted
because
titles.
usually it was bundled with Sonic. Sonic
it's
usually
probably
kind of
packed in
came
with
with.
Sonic.
Yeah, Sonic was like the Mario Brothers.
So I wanted to play. I remember wanting to play Altered Beast really badly, and one day my dad. It was like a Friday. I remember he rented it for like the weekend, and so I got to play Altered Beast all weekend, and I played it like literally all weekend that weekend, and it was a lot of fun. But I remember seeing like a video like like a couple years ago about like the graphics, and like looking at the graphics now, I was like, wow, that thing was like clunky and
Doesn't age well.
But at the time, it was amazing though.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing I feel like with Genesis. I feel like they went too far with trying to make the graphics look good for the time, whereas a lot of people will knock Super Nintendo as too cartoony, but those hold up today.
Yeah.
Like those thick outline graphics, the cartoon character, whatever you want to call it, it still looks great.
Yep.
And the MIDI music, you know.
God, I can't even listen to Genesis games. They're so, compared to Super Nintendo games, they sound so bad.
I feel
Gotta
like
love Sega.
Nintendo's always nailed the music, though. You know.
Yeah, especially on Bubble Bobble. Trying to think here if there were any other games that really kind of stood. I mean, like I said, it was only other one, like I said, was Street Fighter and Ryu. That was always my guy. That was my go-to every time when I was fighting.
I remember going to friends' houses and playing Mortal Kombat.
No, my mom wouldn't let me get that. It was too bloody.
I'm
surprised we got Street Fighter.
I don't know. I don't want to say that my parents wouldn't let me get it. It was something I wasn't interested in because of it was the gore and everything. But when I went to friends' houses, they were like, "Oh, we gotta play this."
Yeah.
So that's when I played that.
Yep. So, so yeah, Sega, and then I don't know where. So Sega went till I'm trying to think here. What would be next after that? I mean, Sega had their little handheld thing too that played Sonic, and I don't know what that was, but they had like their version of the Game Boy
Game Gear
as well. But is that what it was? Game Gear, that one?
Yeah. Again,
So-
I was not a Sega person, so I didn't have it, but I knew friends
Yeah.
that had it. In fact, and then Sega went even further and made a Sega Nomad, which would actually play Sega Genesis titles in a handheld system that took like 1 million batteries and would die after 2 hours of play because it's playing a full console game in your hand.
Yeah.
Like you basically had to play that with an AC adapter plugged into a wall, and I think the cord was only this long, so you were like on top of the wall playing it if you actually wanted to play it.
So you might as well just play on your system instead of trying to play that.
Watching it on an actual screen instead of a screen.
Yeah. That. Yep. It's usually the way back then things would go with batteries and how bad they were. But
Ooh,
and
another.
go.
Just
Yeah.
came to mind. Another Super Nintendo game that was hours and hours and hours of fun for me. This was another. Actually, I got it at a going out of business sale for one of those rental stores. This one was up in like Remsen, New York. Zombies Ain't My Neighbors. Now, are either of you familiar with this?
I've never even heard of it.
I encourage you to look it up after this. It is just a bunch of levels where it would take all these tropes of horror movies at the time, whether it be zombies, whether it be giant baby kids, aliens, just little Chucky doll type characters, big masked, Jason masked guys with chainsaws running around. Each level was just anything from B horror movies, and you would be these two kids, two-player game, and sharing the same screen, walking around. You start off with water guns, going around killing the enemies, and then like upgrade weapons throughout. over 100 levels of nonstop. It was, I don't know, so many hours put into that game.
Huh.
I never even heard of it.
I can hear the sound effects over and over, especially in the game. You can drop decoys of like these little clowns that are bounce back and forth clowns that you hit over and over again. Drop those in front of the guys with the chainsaws, and they hit it over and over, and just I can hear the ha 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 sound in my head so clearly. That had a great sound in that game too.
Is it like a hard game to find now?
You know what? I honestly may have it in the other room, so I can literally have you borrow it.
There you go, Summer. Congratulations, Summer.
Well, I don't know if I Summer playing that one.
Ha 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 ha. Summer comes in there. Ha 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 ha.
So again, it's still it's all those horror things, but it's presented in a lighthearted way. Like you're going around as kids. The main male character is blonde hair, wearing 3D glasses, just shooting a water pistol.
It sounds cool. I'd like to check it out.
Yeah. You got to go around saving neighbors.
I'm gonna Google it when we're done here and check it out.
So, and you saying that, I don't know how this reminded me. I have to go back to NES. One other main game that I played a lot of was Paperboy. Completely forgot about that. Paperboy was a great game. And I don't know why you saying that, Eric, totally put it in my brain, but it did on that one. So, but Paperboy just riding his bike, and then I think like a grandma would be chasing him down the road, or a dog, and fire hydrants got in the way, cracks in the sidewalk, and and you're trying to hit your mark every time. So I like that game. That was a fun game. Really
that was one another one I played at a friend's house when I was younger.
I forgot two games from the NES actually that I used to play quite a bit, and the first was the original Mario Brothers. Mm-hmm. But there's a little caveat to it where my friend Mike Murphy and I would play it all the time, but we wouldn't play it like to advance the levels. We would just, because I don't know if you guys remember that one. It was more of like not like a linear where you're going across. This one you had to like go up and like get out type of almost like a Donkey Kong.
The original Mario Brothers arcade game.
Yeah, but they had it for NES.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that one was more of a competitive game too. Like you can try and screw over your friend by like
exactly
hitting enemies and
Chris is like, yes.
enemies.
But we would just stay on one level and just try to see who could stay alive the longest. And it was like a competition where you try to kill the other guy, you try to stay alive or whatever. And I remember playing that for hours, and we would be on like the same screen, just not advancing the level at all or whatever, just trying to kill each other.
So I don't really remember it from the original NES, like the actual original game, but do you remember at all that they added it into Super Mario Brothers 3 basically as like a little mini game?
Yes, I do remember that.
And you could basically stop the other person from having their turn by hitting the button to activate it when they go over you, and then playing them in that, and then beating them, and then it would be your turn again.
Oh, okay.
That was a fun little addition they had in there.
The mini games were always good. And then the other one was elevator action. I used to love to play elevator action.
Never heard of that one.
It's like you're like a spy or a secret agent or something like that, and there's like it's like you go up, it's an elevator, and you get off of these different floors, and there's bad guys, and you either shoot them or avoid them or whatever. I forget what the actual like entire premise of the game was. I just remember having a lot of fun, like going from different, hopping in the elevator, going down to avoid this person, and then, I don't know. It was a fun game at the time.
Yeah. Huh.
Did either of you ever play Battletoads?
Heard of it, never played it.
Yeah, I heard of it too. I don't think
that was another rental for me all the time, and it was so weird to like growing up, looking back at it. I realized I never really got like past the second level ever. Just beat the first level and would die in the beginning of the second level. But that was probably one where we rented more than enough times to own it.
No. No, my parents would not rent like it was a treat to get a new one. They never rented for us ever. I don't think I ever rented a video game once in my life. So, yeah. My rentals were actually just borrowing. My cousins had more, so I would just borrow from them. Like Excite Bike, my cousin owned it. Jackal, cousin owned it. So a lot of my favorite, it's actually they had it. So I just went to them and said, "Hey, can I borrow this one?" So they were done with it for a while. So yeah, it kind of worked out nice.
Awesome.
So, so you know what, guys? Here's what I want to do, because we're quite a ways in time-wise, but we've barely even scratched the surface on, like, especially we haven't even gotten to more recent systems. So if it's good with you guys, I think we should continue this next week. What do you guys think?
I'm good with that.
Okay, because, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great games we're talking about, and so I think this will be a good idea for us to do next week. So so stay tuned. We'll be here next week. Yeah,
you got 10 seconds to continue. Insert the quarter.
So hurry up. It's starting to blink. Oh my gosh. So before we go in these 10 seconds, so remember to like, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're there. We'd love to hear your ideas. We actually just got an idea recently, so we're excited. We're kind of getting stuff ready for a fan suggestion. So very excited about that. So appreciate that suggestion. So we're working on that. So yeah, so just, we want to hear from you. We want to talk to you guys. We want to get your feedback so we can continue to grow and make this podcast stronger and better each time. So next week, part 2 of favorite video games growing up. So when you're listening to this, let us know your thoughts right now. Tell us what your favorite games were, so that way, you know what, we can bring it up. We'll talk about them, and we'll see if, maybe there's some that we forgot. Because let me tell you, I know there's some that we were still just going backwards again. So we're missing some. We want to hear what you guys think about it. So with that, what do you got there, Chris? What's that one that you're holding up now? He's holding up a cartridge.
Jordan versus Bird.
Oh, yeah.
See, this is what I'm talking about. We're missing all these good ones. So don't be afraid. We'll love to revisit some of the old NES, Sega games, Super Nintendo, all that. So like, subscribe, talk to us. We want to hear from you. But you know what I did fail to do earlier, guys, is Uncle Pete's. I forgot to totally mention Uncle Pete's, so I got to do it now. This podcast was, oh, wow. This podcast.
This podcast.
This podcast.
This spot worked for this read.
Well,
Tell
I'll
us
just
about
do it
this
in my
podcast.
southern accent. Uncle Pete's Fireworks. Get lit. Disclaimer. Uncle Pete's asks that you be safe, follow the rules, and don't be actually lit when using your fireworks.
Yeah.
That's Uncle Pete's Fireworks. Yeehaw!
I think you went through 5 different accents in that
I think I did. The only one I don't think I hit was my British or my Australian. I never stay consistent.
Australian.
But that's okay. My Australian, mate. We'll finish off in an Australian accent, and then it'll go to British, and then we're going to stop
Okay, I
that.
think
Anyways, so we thanked Uncle Pete's. So anyways, have a great week, everybody. Have a great July now that we're in July, and have a happy 4th of July, and we will see you guys all next week for part 2
Where
of
we'll
the
go
video
3D.
games. Dun, 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 dun.